chew bubblegum.
You're listening to Hear the Chew Bubblegum, recorded from a secret location in the city that moves mountains.
Greetings. Hello, everyone. I am Goose. Dirty Dan is still battling ladybugs and fighting salamanders again this week. Hopefully, he will be back next week. But I have a very special guest on the show with me, and I'm talking about Seth Amburgey, friend of the show. He also does Seth's Daily Podcast and the Mysterious Appalachian Mountains. Seth, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, it's been a very tough week, man, but I'm blessed enough to be here, man. Definitely appreciate you having me. And every day you're alive, man, it's a good day.
Yes, it is. And go ahead, Seth, if you want to, and tell us, what's happened this week, because we've lost another friend of the show this week, like we did last week. Seth, just please go ahead.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I have the unfortunate news to report that Earl was found dead Wednesday, I believe. Yeah, Wednesday at about 4 p.m. They found him dead. And, yeah, man, it definitely has hurt a lot of people in the community, in the Knott County community, and in the Bigfoot community as well, man. That dude was making a name for himself here in the Bigfoot world.
And he passed away of COVID, correct?
Yeah, I believe that he had a COVID heart attack. I believe COVID led to a heart attack.
Right. I hate that. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, and we're going to play a special tribute from Seth right now, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to Seth's Daily Podcast. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you guys for subscribing. This episode is dedicated to Earl Jeffrey Mullins, man. We're definitely missing you, man. Definitely want to send my prayers to his family, his friends, and everybody out there. And I want to thank Earl for doing the podcast with me, man. You're gonna be missed, man. He was a great Bigfoot researcher, man. And your passion and love for Bigfoot researching just makes a lot of people smile, man. And hopefully people will love Bigfoot researching just as much as you, so we can find the truth of Bigfoot being real, man. Yeah, man, prayers to Earl's family. I appreciate you, Earl, for doing the podcast all the time, man. Doing the Bigfoot radio segment as well, man. And R.I.P. Earl. And this podcast, every episode will now be dedicated to Earl. Not just one episode, every episode, man. I appreciate you, Earl. And R.I.P., man. Definitely prayers to go out to his family and friends. He was a great friend of mine, man, and this will hurt forever. This is for Earl, man. We're going to read a Bigfoot story out of Letcher County here in eastern Kentucky. This was submitted on, it doesn't give the month date, but it says the year of 2006. I'm not going to say their name. It was at 1 a.m. and it lasted a minute or two, and there's 3 witnesses. We were up on the mountain camping out for the night. Then all of a sudden, we heard something running down a big long field of grass. We all heard it, so we ran down closer to see what the heck it was. Then after we got closer to it, we seen it walking down the road. It was running like no man could run. It was screeching, making a lot of banging noises in the distance. Describe the creature with detail. It was a big brownish black creature that was very large in size. It was probably 7 to 8 feet tall. It was running very fast through the field like no man could run. Additional info. The area was an open field right next to the woods. It was making a lot of noises, the Bigfoot was. And that's the story from here in Letcher County, here in Eastern Kentucky. Earl is the best Bigfoot researcher here in Eastern Kentucky, man. What he did for this area, Bigfoot research, man, is absolutely amazing. And yeah, man, this episode is dedicated to Earl. And yeah, man, this is always going to be dedicated to Earl. This whole entire podcast is, man. He was an amazing guest and amazing friend. And everybody in the Bigfoot community and the Knott County community and Eastern Kentucky Bigfoot community, just in the Eastern Kentucky community, all of Kentucky community is going to miss Earl. This is a big loss for all of us, man. Prayers for everybody. And yeah, man. Y'all have a good night, and God bless.
And welcome back. Again, that was Seth's tribute to Earl, who was his co-host on the mysterious Appalachian Mountains. And, sadly, he's not with us anymore. And our thoughts and prayers goes out to Seth and his family and friends. And Seth, you said before we listened to that he was making a name for himself as Bigfoot. I've always liked Bigfoot. I've never got into it as much as I have Roswell and Area 51. I'm starting, and that's not to say that I don't think it's possible. And I'm starting lately to get more into it. First, have you ever went Bigfoot hunting?
No.
Would you go Bigfoot hunting?
Absolutely, man. Just because, in tribute to Earl, I actually am planning on doing a Bigfoot hunt with a friend of mine from Indiana, David Mills, who actually is going to be co-hosting the mysterious Appalachian Mountains now as a tribute to Earl, man. And we're actually going to do a Bigfoot hunt probably in the summer as a tribute to Earl. So, yep.
Good. And you've already got one segment of that in the can. We'll have that coming up later in the show. For anybody that wants to get into Bigfoot hunting, what is some things that they should take to go Bigfoot hunting?
Definitely a gun.
Okay. Well, I can understand that. What about a little snack pack? Would you want to have a little snack pack and maybe a first aid kit?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to actually see Bigfoot, you definitely want to leave some food and stuff. But if you're like me and don't want to run into Bigfoot, you don't want to bring any food. You just want to bring a flashlight. And yeah, man. And if you see Bigfoot, run away.
Would you at least get a picture first and then run away?
I think I'd be in shock, man. But definitely take a camera with you for sure, and your phone, and definitely a flashlight, man, because there's coyotes out here. There's bears. I mean, some places you got wolves. I mean,
well, back when I was growing up, in the hills of Knott County, I was all over the hills, all over the mountains. Some of the stuff that I have saw pictures of on the internet and saw out, doing stuff in the field from the cookie factory work that I used to do. And, there is no way that I would let my teenage kid go up in the hills just to check stuff. A few years ago, my son, he was maybe 14, and he went up in the hills, and I think he saw a bear. And, it was actually like way ahead of him. It didn't hear him, but he got out of there really, really quick.
Yeah, it's definitely something you don't want to mess with as a bear, especially if it's protecting its cubs and stuff, man. You definitely don't want to run into a mama bear, especially.
Yes. Now, I will tell you this, and people to this day, some people don't believe me. I have no reason to make this up. This is 100% true. This is 100% legit. It was in the early 2000s, and I had was going from Beaver to Caney, and I can't remember the name of the little road that I took, the little side road, but you come out in Hollybush, okay? As I was going up the road, right before you start up the hill to go up to Hollybush from the Beaver side and back down, there was this black figure crossed the road, and I thought, that is the ugliest, biggest dog I've ever saw. And I stopped, and I'm 5 foot from it. You know, my windows rolled up, and it was a panther, and it was solid black, and it had a diamond triangle white under its neck. And, you know, back in those days, I didn't have a cell phone to try to get a picture, but I saw that, and I told people that, and they're like, yeah, right. I really saw that. I really, really saw that. And then I saw several bears in Hyman in the mid 2000s up to 2012. And I told people this, and they're like, no. But then other people started seeing them too. And, you know, yeah, there they were. And I will never forget, I was going on a alarm complaint. And this is the radio show. I'll tell about this because, you know, I was going on a alarm complaint at the Artisan Center in Hyman, and they have a walkway that goes over the creek bank and back around the back of the building. And I'll never forget, when I got almost to the back, I heard this rumbling. I'm like, oh, there's really somebody here at the back door. So I jumped around, and this huge bear raises up out of a dumpster. And so I just slowly start back, and I walk backwards to my vehicle, and I got out of there. I mean, it's just amazing, some of the things that in our area right now. It seems like sometimes when they brought these elk in, other things followed, you know, like coyotes, bears, and so forth. But there was a strange object that Dirty Dan, and I actually talked about this on the podcast show last week, Dirty Dan messaged me a video that he captured of this object, and then I saw other people talking about it, and they're saying that it was the Starlink satellites that Elon Musk put out. What's your take on that, Seth? Do you buy that?
I actually got sent a bunch of videos and stuff of the satellites going up in the sky and stuff, and they said, man, look at this UFO. There was like 3 or 4 people that messaged me that on Messenger. I guess where I did like UFO podcasts and stuff, they want to send me UFO stuff, which I'm definitely down to see, man. If anybody has any UFO pictures or videos, definitely send it to me on Facebook. And my Facebook, Seth Amburgey, man, or you can message Seth's Daily Podcast on Facebook as well, man. And I definitely will not judge you or anything. But when I did the research, man, I actually found that the Starlink satellites go out at this exact time, and the time that they actually seen it. So definitely was a Starlink satellite.
So you're definitely convinced. I'm not so sure of that, just because it was all lit up. Why would all those, I mean, okay, first of all, and you may know more about this than me because I've not done any deep dive research on it yet. Why would all the satellites be connected that way? That's number one. Why would they be connected that way?
I guess because they want to send so many out, man. I don't know.
But, I mean, they're all lit up like that, right?
Yeah.
Now,
it's weird for sure.
Once they get to the destination that they're going to, will they all be lit up in the sky that way?
That's a good question, man. Definitely Elon Musk and Starlink should address the speculation and stuff.
Well, you know, I think Elon Musk has some inside information, you know, and he would have to with SpaceX with this. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Starlink stuff to say that, yeah, that was it. Now with the time thing and all that stuff that you said, I'm leaning towards that way, that was definitely it. You know, so do you have a Bigfoot story for us or a UFO story for us that you want to share with us?
I will definitely find one from Junebug, man. Junebug from In Dark Places.
Well, good. Hey, Seth,
Appalachian.
I want to say this before you start reading, okay? Let her rip, Tater Chip.
Just don't want to read a email that's about 5 pages long.
Yes. No. We don't want to do that. And we will be coming back with email very soon. Before you get started, Seth, that reminds me. Normally I have a format in front of me, and I don't this week. But you can always call, text, or leave a voicemail by calling 606-373-3396. Again, that's 606-373-3396. Or you can email Goose at here2chewbubblegum.com, Dirty Dan at here2chewbubblegum.com, Rebecca at here2chewbubblegum.com, Ned or Elliot at here2chewbubblegum at yahoo.com. Again, Seth, let her rip Tater Chip.
All right, man. See if I can. We got a report out of Churchill, Tennessee. Have you ever heard of that place?
Yes, I have. I've drove through that place before.
Really? Is it known as a UFO hotspot?
Not in my research. I have never come across that.
All right. Here's the story from Appalachian UFO Research Society. The witness reported seeing a big glowing ball of light with 2 little pegs on the bottom, almost like a tail, around 9 p.m. on July the 26th. It started coming towards us pretty fast and then just hovered there for like 2 minutes and went away. The object was a little higher than where planes normally fly and made no noise. The witness said that the neighbors had security cameras around their house and is hoping that they captured the footage of the strange craft. We'll keep you updated if we hear anything else about the sighting.
Wow. The Tennessee area, the one you're talking about, I've heard more ghost stories out of that area than I have UFO stories. But, you've got UFO stuff. It was widespread. People were reporting on a lot. Then they seem to, even though the occurrences are still happening, they don't seem to be reporting on it as much as they were 3 months ago, 2 months ago. It seems like it's died down a little bit. I do find it interesting that the government does have the new military, I don't know if it's military, but the new branch that they're looking into UFOs and so forth. If we will now, I don't know if we'll ever find out what they do find out, but I do think it's interesting that they're taking them serious enough to investigate these over military bases or areas that may affect our national security. I do find that very interesting.
Yeah, definitely is something going on, man. You don't just see something like a craft like that making no noise.
No. Now, the video that Dirty Dan sent me on Friday, it may not have been the Starlink satellites, because this one, you can actually see it blinking. I mean, it would blink like it would shimmer, like it would go out and then come back on in a different spot. So I'm very excited and looking forward to getting Dirty Dan back on to check that out. And we need to get you in a studio with us, Seth. We need to, when you do come, I've been trying to get you in for a while. When you do come, I will have you here 4 or 5 hours. You will be recording so much stuff, your head will explode by the time you get done.
Hey, man, nothing better than being on podcasts.
Yes, well, and radio show.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I just got done actually putting the episode 57 out late. I had out of town, and Dirty Dan wasn't able to bring an interview that he was supposed to due to technical difficulties, no fault of his own. And I was telling Elliot, that we're going to be getting back to, doing the aliens, UFOs. We've got so much email piled up. We're definitely going to have to do an email show, and we may translate some of those to the radio show as well. And there's a lot, if anybody listening to the show, if you do see something strange or you do have a story to share with us, please contact Seth, or you can contact myself. You can email, like I said, Goose at here2chewbubblegum.com, or you can always call area code 606-373-3396. You don't have to give your name if you do want to tell a story that you do want us to play on the radio show. Tell us that story. Keep it clean. Don't use any bad language. And, like I said, you don't have to tell your name, but we will play that on the air. Again, anybody that's new to UFOs and so forth, I would recommend there's a series on Peacock called Project Blue Book. And even though they take their own liberties with some of the things that they talk about in that show, some of the stuff, all the stuff that they've had on the show is actually fact-based stuff that has happened. Now you have to do your own research on it when you find out and hear about this stuff. But Seth, is there any shows that you would recommend if somebody just now got interested in UFOs or documentaries besides Ancient Aliens that you would tell somebody to go check out?
Oh man, Ancient Aliens is one of my favorite shows.
It is good. It is good. And even if you go back and watch a lot of the old X-Files shows, I mean, a lot of that stuff was based on reports from the past and so forth.
Yeah, what's that old show from back in the 90s? It was Mysteries. They did a lot of UFO stuff.
You're talking about Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes, yeah. That is a great show.
Yes, it is. And we've talked about that on the show before. And, there was one episode, I think in 87, 88, and people were seeing these black triangles, with a center light and, flashing red lights and stuff. There is no doubt in my mind that what people saw back then is the TR-3B. That is owned by our military. You can see pictures online. You can see a patent of it online. And I honestly think that was what people had saw on that particular Unsolved Mysteries episode when they'd done the recreations and all that and the witness, so forth. But Seth, we're going to take a break and we're going to play the Mysterious Appalachian Mysteries. Right? Mysterious Appalachian Mysteries.
No, the Mysterious Appalachian Mountains.
Mysterious Appalachian. See, you've got me hooked on mountains. You've got me hooked on mountains. And normally I have a script in front of me. My format, I don't have that. The Mysterious Appalachian Mountains with Seth, and you said David Mills. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, do you want to set up this first episode for us? Like, just briefly tell us what you're talking about and so forth before we go into it.
It was a story out of Owensboro, Kentucky, which I didn't know was a hot spot, but David Mills told me that it is a hot spot for Bigfoot sightings.
Really? Well, we're going to have to go check that out. That's not, Owensboro, that's the western part of the state. And you've got the Pope Lick Monster. That was the northeastern part of the state, or maybe northwestern. I was never good in geography and so forth. But here it is, brand new. Check it out, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to the Mysterious Appalachian Mountains with Seth and Earl. And this is the first episode since the unfortunate passing of her best friend, Earl. And I just want to say prayers go out to his family and RIP Earl, man. This is absolutely destroyed the community and has destroyed the Bigfoot community, the death of our good friend Earl. And this is a big loss for the community of Knott County. And this is a big loss for the Bigfoot community, man. And we definitely, every episode's dedicated to Earl. Definitely prayers go out to Earl's family, man. And yeah, RIP Earl, man. It's definitely every show's dedicated to him. But we are blessed enough to have David Mills on tonight, Bigfoot researcher out of Indiana. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing awesome, Seth. Sorry to hear about all that, buddy.
Yeah, man, it has hurt a lot of us, man. Earl was a great guy, and more importantly, just a great friend, man. He was a great Bigfoot researcher, but more than that, man, he was just a great friend, man. He was always there for people, and it's going to be it's hurting a lot of people in our area, hurting the Bigfoot community as well.
Yeah, I really wanted to get to meet him. Unfortunately, didn't happen. But his memory will live on for sure.
Absolutely, man. He has the interviews on the podcast to talk about the stories that he investigated and the eyewitness accounts of Bigfoot sightings here in Eastern Kentucky. So, yeah, his voice will always be here.
That's right.
And man, we actually got a story out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Do you hear a lot of sightings in that area?
Owensboro, yeah, all around there. Actually, I've heard of several from down in that area. Hopefully, something nice and fresh you got for us.
Well, it's old.
It's old, okay.
Yeah, it's out of Owensboro, Kentucky on August of 1978. It doesn't give the date. It says residents of the 28th block of Fairview Drive reported that they had witnessed a huge dark colored Bigfoot creature on several occasions, observing them from the safety of the nearby woods. It was 8 to 10 foot tall, they claim, and 4 to 5 foot wide at the shoulders. It usually appears in the evening hours and was said to smell like the decomposing bodies. Tracks were found which measured 14 to 16 inches long and 6 to 7 inches wide. Eventually, the authorities were able to help, so a posse formed to rid the newly developed neighborhood of the giant smelly menace. They reportedly fired on the creature with a 45 caliber rifle to no apparent effect. It ran away, leaving no blood trail, just a wet spot on the ground where it had stood. Sources Owensboro. Messenger Inquirer.
Wow.
And that is a very that's a very crazy story, man. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, it fits a lot of the characteristics of Bigfoot. I mean, you got the height, the size, and everything. They're also saying they're smelling the smell. Sounds like he was really curious. Something there it saw that made him really curious. Keep coming back, I think. Yeah, when you got multiple witnesses, it's hard to really discount that. If they all described the same thing, and it sounds like they did, and to form a posse, I mean, that tells me that the people really felt they were in a threat.
Definitely, man. And the fact that they shot it, which I don't suggest people doing, and it
No.
did no effect to it, man. That can show you that Bigfoot is not just an ape. The Bigfoot could be another another entity. I'm not particularly sure what he is, man. I mean, half human.
Half, who knows, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you hear about them being shot all the time with like no effect at all, but then there are accounts of them actually being killed. So I don't know. Nobody knows how their body's made up, their biology. So what we think would be a deadly shot to a human or another animal might not be on these creatures.
absolutely, man. And I know your Bigfoot research organization does a lot of Bigfoot hunts around. I don't know if you do around that area, but you do in the Daniel Boone forest. And you have you ever seen like tracks and stuff around
Oh,
the
well, we've seen
Owensboro area?
some. I haven't never seen any tracks. We did find some, rock structures that people, see. We've seen them a couple times around Indiana, actually. These were on a river down there in Daniel Boone. And we've actually found 3 sets of them. There's campgrounds, little campsites here and there. So we kind of just discounted as somebody in there just messing around, being that close to all that stuff. Did see some kind of weird tree breaks down there from time to time. And in one night we were down there, we actually heard something growling over on the other side of the ridge from us. But yeah, who knows? I think it might have been a bear, honestly.
Yeah. The only thing that I can think of people actually seeing Bigfoot, and they say it's a bear, and the difference that you can tell between the two is a bear awkwardly walks on 2 feet, and a Bigfoot can just walk. They honestly walk better than us humans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bears waddle when they walk on 2 legs. You can watch them in the circus, and they'll go through their little bouts. They'll walk on their legs for quite some time, but it's the movement. The movement's way off. When you see these creatures out here, everybody always describes them as gliding across the ground, and that makes me think they don't use their upper body like a human does. Everything, all their mobility, most of it is in their legs, and that's what causes them to flow so well and don't look like they have any bobble at all.
Absolutely.
That's my theory, anyway.
Absolutely, man. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that see a bear and think that it's Bigfoot. Definitely. I mean, I know some people that have swore they've seen Bigfoot, and the next day you literally see a bear.
Right. Yeah. It's gotten so big, everybody wants to see one now, it seems like. But like everybody always says, be careful what you wish for. It might ruin you from ever going back into the woods again.
Absolutely, man. And definitely appreciate you doing this, man. And just so everybody knows, you will be doing this permanently.
Oh, it's going to be awesome, man. Hopefully we can have some real good shows.
Absolutely, man. This is in remembrance and dedication to Earl. Earl would have loved you being on with him, man. That would have been awesome, man.
It would have.
Earl loved the Bigfoot, man. That's all he wanted to do was retire and do Bigfoot hunting, man. And
that's where I'm at. I wish I could, but unfortunately I can't.
Yeah. Definitely sucks. And R.I.P. Earl, man. Prayers to his family and friends here in the Knott County community, and also the Bigfoot community as well, because he was becoming well known in the Bigfoot community too.
Absolutely. But
yeah, man, this has been the Mysterious Appalachian Mountains with Seth and Earl. Y'all have a good night, and God bless.
It's now time for Believe It or Not with Justin and Goose.
Hello, I'm Justin, and some of the best things in life are not quite believable.
Jot 'em down, store love from Abner. I'm Goose, and welcome to Believe It or Not with Justin Perkins and myself, Goose. Thank you very much for joining us. How you doing today, Justin?
Well, I nailed the opening that time. So, I mean,
you done a great job. You done a great job. That would have been flawless if I didn't have to mute my microphone and cough. But
I'm going to start just changing it every time.
Hey, you can. Elliot even commented on the one that we left in there that he got a big kick out of that.
I did. That's one of the ones I was letting my wife listen to it, and she's like, how many times did you mess that up? I was like, I don't know. I lost count because I'd been telling her about it, and I was like, I messed this up once, and then I heard him still in there, and I was like, he left it in. Listen.
Oh, well, today we're going to talk about a movie, Fire Down Below, and hope I can read some of the stuff I've got here. I printed it in a little font. So, have you ever saw the movie Fire Down Below?
Oh, yes, and I want to dedicate this episode to my wife because Steven Seagal is her favorite actor.
Really?
No, absolutely not. She despises him, but I am a huge Steven Seagal fan.
Now, this was really fascinating, too, when all this was going on because, I actually remember all of this. When they came in and there was ladies that were prop designers and prop set decorators. They'd went to Watts Bargain Barn and bought a bunch of stuff. They spent a lot of money in Knott County. They even ate at the Holly Hills restaurant. And I remember one of the ladies that worked there said that they'd never had soup beans before, and they were really impressed with those.
I mean, that's probably one of my favorite meals, so I can understand that.
Yeah, same here. But Fire Down Below, like you said, it stars Steven Seagal. and I'll read some of this, and we'll talk about it throughout the segment. When Steven Seagal began looking for what would be his 10th motion picture project and 9th for Warner Brothers, he turned his attention to Underground. The star who debuted in Above the Law discovered a script that he called a wonderful character piece. It reminded me of Witness, Steven Seagal said, a film where the action is motivated by good drama and a good story. What Seagal and his lifelong producing partner Julius R. Nasso uncovered was a story set in the Appalachian hills of southeastern Kentucky, written by North Carolina native Jeb Stewart, and the screenplay was written by Jeb Stewart and Philip Morton. The screenplay and story was about illegal toxic waste disposal in Kentucky mines. Now, did you know this part that I'm getting ready to read? This was based on Stewart's own experiences, where the writer spent his college years working as a carpenter in Appalachia at a time where illicit poisoning of the countryside was under investigation by the EPA. So it's loosely based on a true story.
I didn't know that. Like, I knew they had done that. I didn't necessarily know they'd done it in eastern Kentucky, but the government's still out in the desert. I think around Area 51, somewhere out there, where they're doing nuclear tests. They store a lot of nuclear waste underground.
Yes, they do. And supposedly they do it in Richmond as well at the Bluegrass Army Depot.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I've heard that. Principal photography on Fire Down Below began in the Cumberland Range of the Appalachian Mountains in southeastern Kentucky, with the coal mining town of Hazard becoming the company's old Kentucky home. For 6 weeks during production, various crew members traveled to various points of surrounding Perry, Breathitt, and Knott counties to film the story of that represented the fall foliage season. They had some big word there, so I just changed it to represented. Curiously, just as the film commenced production, life imitated art, as local Kentucky newspapers reported that an actual EPA inquiry into abandoned mine shaft just outside of Pikeville, which was 60 miles away from the company's base, comparing the real EPA agent, Fred Stroud, to Seagal's character in the film. When the actor heard about the agency allegations, he invited Stroud to visit the set and chatted with him about environmental issues and his work. I actually do remember that. And this story does go on to mention, and in the Cars Fork Lake area, there is a house that was used as a set piece. It wasn't a full house when it was constructed. I think now it is a complete full house. And let's see, it says two key sets, filmmakers chose spectacular natural settings and elevated plateaus themselves. They used a former strip mine where production designer Joe Alvis built from the ground up sets overlooking the breathtaking visits of the Kentucky Cumberland Hills. The Kellogg House, a country cathedral, Sarah's clapboard house, was constructed on a mountainside a mile above the picturesque tributaries of the Cars Fork Lake, and Reverend Goodall's Pentecostal Church rose on a cliffside above the county's popular dirt track speedway. Another local landowner and mining engineer, James Boland, had wanted to keep the set for Sarah's house that was constructed on his property, which was a former strip mine restored to its natural beauty, and was even more beautiful with a spectacular view. Boeing asked that the two-story structure not be tore down after the company departed Kentucky. They did let it stand, and Boland had all sorts of plans to build a golf course. Let's see. He also let them move a barn on his property that was 200 years old, and people on the film said it took 2 months to take the barn apart and move it, and they had to number every board in piece, whereas to assemble it back correctly. Have you ever been in that house on that property?
Not in the house. I guess it was probably, I'd say 04, somewhere in that area. I won't say the last name, but there's a guy named Jeremy. He's related to them.
I know who you're talking about.
He's got some cattle and stuff up there now, but he used to do a trail ride.
Yes.
We'd go up there, and this is well before the Knott County Trail Ride, and me and my dad and my buddy Broody went up there one year, and, you'd ride all that and ride all the way over into Letcher County and back. We did that, I believe, 2 years in a row. And 1 year, we did ride up and ride around the house. But I've never seen. I believe his uncle lives in that house now. Somebody in his family lives in that house. The house is functional. At this point, and you can see it from the lake.
Yes,
like
yes,
during
you
the
can.
fall and stuff, you can see it from the lake.
I had cookie factory business years ago when I rode up there with somebody. Something was going on up there, and we had to go up and check stuff out. Everything was okay, but I didn't get to go inside. I did step on the porch, but it's like you said, it's beautiful.
Yes,
and
it's a beautiful area. Like I'd kill for that view in that area.
Yeah, I definitely. Does Jeremy still live over there?
I believe so. Right before you start up that hill,
Yeah.
like I said, I think he has a bunch of cattle up there. When the market got really high a couple of years ago, I don't believe he sold them, but I heard like maybe $1 million worth of cattle.
Really?
Because the market got extremely high.
Right.
But there's a lot of room up there. Some
yes.
reclaimed mine area, and I mean it's a beautiful place. You can go forever up there.
And they actually filmed some of this in Breathitt County, some of the night scene where they go to the dance and some of the stuff with Marty Stewart as a deputy on the when they get into the street fight, more or less. And Ronnie Hall, he's also in the film. He was actually, and we'll try to get him on this show sometime, he was actually Steven Seagal's body double.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, or his stand-in, whatever, body double stand-in, same thing. You know, when they were setting up the camera and the lighting and all that, he'd be the one standing there.
That's pretty cool.
So,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I can remember there's one scene there, he's driving the truck, and if you're from Eastern Kentucky, you're from Knott County, there's a lot of areas, which I've seen this in other places as well, but down by the lake specifically, you've got the big high wall, the sheer cut off, and there's the part where he's going down there, and I can remember getting excited, I was like, that's by the lake. I know where that is. I got excited about a lot of that in that movie. You'd see something, and I'd be like, because I grew up a huge martial arts fan. I loved all of his first couple movies, and, you know, I was young. I didn't realize Steven Seagal, you know, he's made some duds, but I like bad movies at times. And, I loved pretty much everything he did up to a certain point. This movie I wasn't crazy about, and not anything negative about the movie other than it was a little less martial arts, and a little more story. And when I look at Steven Seagal, I don't think award-winning actor. I think martial arts star. And he has an interesting past in the martial arts. He's one of the few Caucasian Americans that got to go to Japan and actually train with some of these Aikido masters and stuff. And he actually earned his black belt in Japan under an Aikido master instead of in a, you know, a lot of times, a lot of the Orientals used to consider them McDojos because they were like McDonald's in the United States, and it was just kind of a money racket deal, and they didn't have a lot of respect for some, not all, but for some of the people that trained in America. And he actually got to go over there and train, and he has a very fascinating martial arts career. He was very accomplished in Aikido and what he did. So I was always really fascinated about him, and I thought it was really cool that he came to Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, and he had a great time in Eastern Kentucky. I remember when this movie came out, and I watched it at Fugate's. And you know, most of the time when the movie's over, you get up when the credits are there, and you let everybody sit there till the credits were over. Not one person got up, and there was actually some people in front of me going, I know them, I know them, I know them, you know, and just everybody sat there. And, you know, we do have a beautiful area, and this is not the only Hollywood film that's been here. You know, we had Next of Kin. Did you know that?
Yes. And I looked up on a page, and me and you shared a page there, and I didn't see it listed, but I've heard that my whole life. That it's filmed, and that's...
Yeah, it was filmed in Jackson. I'm sorry, in Carbon Glow in Perry County.
You know, it's one of those movies that you're going to have people that love and hate whatever movie, but that had a great cast. It was well acted. Like, there's things that weren't particularly true to our area in that movie, but it's still, you know, Fire Down Below the same way, you know. Hollywood goes one of two ways with Appalachian people. They either kind of romanticize them into this simpler, kinder people, or they demonize them into this really bad. They never kind of hit it right in the middle. So I'm always interested in which route they're going to go. I heard a lot of horror stories. I mean, you know, he was awful to deal with, and this and this and this, and he said this and he did that, but I never heard him say one bad thing about this area. So that leads me to believe that probably people didn't meet him said that. Yeah. And, you know, to me, they did I don't know. I like the representation of mountain people in that movie for the most. It's been years since I've seen it, but I don't remember anything standing out where I went, oh my God, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, no, and that's the same as me. And I actually remember, I think it was TNN at the time was a channel. It used to be the Nashville Network, then they rechanged it to the National Network. Now it's Spike TV, I think. But they did an interview with him when it was TNN, and they were trying to get him to say something bad about this area with the questions. And I can't remember what they said, but I remember his response. He said, that is a great area. There is a lot of hardworking people there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say the guy's name. There was I don't think he's working anymore. I think he's retired, but there was a state trooper that actually saw him in Knott County and pulled him over for speeding and got his camera out of his trunk that he used to take pictures of auto accidents. And he said, hey, if you get out, told the driver, if he gets out and takes a pic, you take my picture with him, I'll let you all go. So Steven Seagal actually got out and took his picture with,
I'd make that trade.
with that trooper. So, but that trooper wasn't from Knott County. He was from a county close by. So, but yeah, I've always heard great things, and there was great things left. Like you said, that house is still standing. When I was up there were still some of the barrels from the movie props and stuff that were still there. The cave that they actually, the one thing I did that I guess kind of hurt me about the movie a little bit is when they go into the mine at the beginning. I mean, and in the movie, you can stand up and walk. It's humongous. I mean, we could have built a stadium inside there. That did kind of irk me just a little bit.
Well, I'd never realized what low coal meant. I always thought you had to at least be able to stand up in it to mine it, especially at a young age. And then the older I got and the more you saw depictions of it and talked to people, like my Uncle Glenn, he liked to low coal. He liked to be able to lay down. It was easier on his back. He's like, lay down. I was like, how could you lay down in mine? He's like, well, this coal, starting out, I guess when they first go through, you got to be on your stomach to get under it and get through there, So, yeah, it's you're looking more like a cave, like Mammoth Cave when they go into that than you are looking at an actual coal mine.
Oh, yeah, but did you think there'll ever be a sequel to that movie?
No, I think his career is pretty well done. His music career should be done. As much as I like to brag on his martial arts skills, his music skills leave a little to be desired. And then did you see his reality show where he was the cop down in New Orleans?
Yeah.
That was pretty rough.
I saw just a few episodes of that.
It was pretty rough. I've wavered back and forth on saying this story. You can see me keep checking my phone. I kept waiting for my friend to reply and see if she remembers this the way I do. When I was in high school, I met my friend, and he's passed away, so I can't ask him, but I met his stepdad's dad for the first time. Okay. I'd never met him before, and I was told a story by my friend's stepdad, who told a lot of good stories, and they changed often, and they weren't always 100% reliable. And I really don't. He's not a liar. He doesn't do it on purpose. He just he's had a long, interesting life, and it's hard for him to remember everything. But there's a guy named Emmett Lawson in Floyd County.
Okay,
lives on Mud Creek. Emmett has a really nice house. If I've been in it once or twice, it's a huge house. It is a nice house. I think Patino looked at buying it at one point when he was coaching for UK.
Really?
I had heard that, I think on the radio or something back then. I've never verified that with the family. But I was always told that that's where Seagal stayed during a certain portion of that filming, is that they rented that house. And they landed a helicopter out in the yard and brought him in and out a couple times. And I've heard that never directly from Emmett, but from that family and from my buddy's stepdad. I won't say how he's connected to that, but he basically said he's seen it. He's seen them, and that's the way I remember the story. But like I said, it was one of them stories just kind of in passing. That was right at the stage of my life where I was still obsessed with doing martial arts, but my obsession for martial arts movies had waned, and my obsession for music had taken over. And so for some reason I can't remember it exactly, but that's what I was told.
Well,
forever.
I had never heard that one. I had heard this. I had heard that he stayed at the Holiday Inn. It was the Holiday Inn in Hazard then. That was the same place where, Patrick Swayze stayed when he filmed Next of Kin. I heard he stayed there a couple of weeks, and he was going to helicopter back and forth between Perry County and Lexington. But and I don't know if this part's true. I know that the actor that played John Boy Walton, is it Richard Thomas? Is that his name?
I don't think it's Thomas, but it does start with a T. Maybe it is. I can't remember. I don't know who you're talking about.
I think he owns or owned at the time, he may not own it anymore, a house in Paintsville. I know he did own it in the late or the early 2000s, and I think he did own it when they filmed this movie in the 90s. And I think Steven Seagal actually stayed there because there was a guy that would help drive him, and he told me that he saw a chopper land. Richard Thomas, I think that's the guy's name, and he would land in Paintsville, and they would drive him in every day from Paintsville.
Well, now I was told that he had stayed somewhere else until they were filming a certain portion of the movie, and then come. But if you look at a map, if you're not from Eastern Kentucky, to stay in Floyd County and Mud Creek, I don't know what part they could have been filming in that was a better drive than Paintsville, because you end up going the same direction.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Real quick, this has nothing to do with fire down below. This does have to do with the mine height and coal mining, and this is a true story. This happened in 1995. I cannot remember the guy's name, or I would tell you. I did security work at a coal mine. And this mine was in Knott County at Arnold Fork. And it had two guard shacks. You had one at the bottom and one at the top. And the one at the top, you could actually take a gravel road and come down over in Pike County on. I was at, and on weekends, there was nothing went on there. It was shut down. So, the one at the bottom, that's where I always stayed. I would eat lunch, and back at that time, I would read books or listen to the radio. And there was this kid that they hired that was like 18 years old. Now, keep in mind, I was just a couple of years older. And this kid that they hired, because you would go in on a Saturday morning, and you would get off Monday morning, and you were supposed to check in every hour. Well, on Saturday at around probably 3, he had walked downhill, and this gravel road is probably like 2.5 miles to my guard shack because he didn't drive. His parents would bring him and drop him off. And he come down, he's like, hey, I forgot to bring drinks. You got any drinks with you? So I had, like Pepsis or Cokes or something, so I give him one of them. And he walks back up. Or no, I actually drive him back up to there. So then he calls down a few hours later, and it's still daylight because it's the summertime. He's like, hey, I found the keys to all this equipment up here. I'm going to play on these dozers and stuff. Oh, no. I said, no. I said, you don't need to be doing that. He said, well, I'm the guard up here, and I'm going to do what I want to. I said, well, buddy, lay it on it. So he plays on some dozers and backhoes and rock trucks. And then he calls me, and he's like, have you ever been on a mine buggy? I said, no. So he actually rode the mine buggy down, the one that you lay on. He drove it down, and he's like, I'm going to get a job in the mines. I'm going to go up here in the next 2 days. I'm going to play on this and see if I can get a job in the mines, tell him I know how to drive this. So I was at just a little bitty shack, big enough for a desk, and stuff. And he's in a good-sized trailer, where they change, where the foreman's office is at. And on Sunday morning, at about 9 o'clock, the office called me and asked me to go check on him, that they hadn't heard from him since like 12 o'clock midnight. So I go up to find the kid, and the mine buggy is stuck up under the trailer where the office was at. It was stuck. It had went through the floor on the inside. So you open up the door, and here's part of this mine buggy sticking out from under the floor. The kid was gone. He had got scared, and he had walked, because he was at the top of the hill. He had walked down to Pike County, come to find out, and called his parents to come and pick him up.
Wow.
And he never.
I don't know if I'd show my face again either.
But I just got tickled where he's like, I found a key to this mine buggy. I'm going to drive this and play around on this.
I made a lot of bad impulsive decisions as a kid, but I started out now watching on mines, right down here in Prestonsburg and up here where they're building. Actually, it was a road project where they built the new section of 119 across. I worked in Coons Creek down in there when they were pouring those piers, but they were mining. Right. They were taking coal from that gap that they had found. But I worked there, and then I worked down here. What was that called? Up in Allen there at the red light. I worked up in there at a mine, and Yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff to mess with, but I was smart enough not to really dig in.
You know, and I did the same thing. I never fooled with any of the equipment, but I always wondered what happened to that kid. You know, especially. You know, I mean, because when
I bet he didn't become a miner.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, because you know when he actually drove the mine buggy down to my, you know, because I mean, like I just hear this god awful vehicle and really couldn't see anything, you know, and then he finally comes around the curve to where I was at, and there it was, you know, and he's like, I'm getting the hang of this. I'm getting pretty good on this. Oh, well, I want to thank everyone for listening to Believe It or Not with Justin Perkins and myself, Goose. You can shoot us an email at believeItorNot, spelled Knott. That's believeItorNot at heretochewbubblegum.com.
I get asked every once in a while, where can people hear this? And I had a buddy of mine said he'd heard me mention it 2 or 3 times. This is a lot of places usually. I'll tell where I stick it at, and you can tell where you stick it at. If you are subscribed on iTunes or Spotify, wherever, to Talk Junkie, I put these on as separate episodes to where you can just hear this part of it. But I do that after they're released with you, wherever you stick them at that week, I stick them on there, and in that way, because like if you heard part of it or you missed it or something, there's multiple places you can find this, and each place is kind of a different experience. Like if you go to Talk Junkie, you get just this, but if you listen to your guys' shows in different places you put it, you get your entire show with this mixed in with it.
Yes, correct. And you don't have to wait for me to drop it first. You can drop it first whenever you want to, because like I said, this was your idea. But you can hear it on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. You can hear it on Pandora. You can hear it on YouTube. Because we also upload the podcast show onto YouTube. You can hear it on there. You can hear it on the radio. It's been in a few radio shows. Within the next 30 days, definitely January, we're going to retweak the format of the radio show just a little bit. And we're probably going to shorten the email segment, so you can definitely hear it, you know, on the radio, every radio show, starting for sure in January. From now until the end of the year, you can hear it on most of the radio shows that we do.
So if you're going to pick one spot right now and you want to help the show out, the biggest thing to me would be look for Here to Chew Bubblegum on Pandora and give some responses and some attention there. And then, you know, because that's a big platform.
Yes.
I am so honored that you put this show on with yours and we're on there. I mean, that's a big platform to be on.
And thank you very much for that plug. And brother, I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else. And plus, this was your idea. It was a great idea at that. And we talked about a little bit ago. We're going to have once a month, we'll probably do a long Here to Believe It or Not.
Yeah, just an excuse for me and Goose to get to hang out and talk.
There you go.
I don't have many people I get to hang out and talk with, and I always enjoy talking to you. So it'll be a little different format, but I think it'll be fun.
And, you know, if you want Justin to put it up first, reach out, let him know, Justin, you can put it up first. It makes no difference, brother.
Well, I really think the best way is they find it on Pandora, because that helps the show collectively,
right? You
know, and so, but if you're just in a pinch one day and you want a quick listen, usually Goose can keep me under control, and I don't make these long. You can check it out just on Talk Junkie by itself.
We definitely appreciate that. Again, thanks everyone, and don't forget, shoot us an email. Believe it or not, spelled Knott at heretochewbubblegum.com.
Goose and Dirty Dan. Give the guys a break. They're not that bright.
And welcome back to Here to Chew Bubblegum on the radio. I am Goose, and filling in this week for Dirty Dan is a very special guest, a friend of the show, Seth Amburgey. Seth, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, man, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, man, I definitely enjoyed it and definitely appreciate you having me, man. And I definitely look forward to being on again, man. And definitely want to say R.I.P. Earl, and prayers go out to his friends and family.
I want to say special thanks to Carlin for all the voiceover work. Be sure to check out and support our friends that have their own shows. I'm talking about CK and Uncle Bill over at deadpet.com, Talk Junkie with Justin Perkins, Jordan and Brad of Down on the Holler, Seth Amburgey with Seth's Daily Podcast, Elliot Gertie and Beagle of SpookyFamilyPodcast.com, the Mountain Mysteries Podcast with Chris Sloan. Also, if you're a fan of Cronkite, he now goes by PT, and you can find him, Snowman, and Large Marge over at Paranormal Trucker. If you want to awaken more, be sure to check out Rebecca Short on TikTok and Twitch, as she goes by Queen of the Flock 138. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week, and until then, so long for now.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.